Hey everyone, it's been a while since my last video. I haven't really done anything YouTube or Instagram wise for the past 2 weeks or so. I've just been a bit quiet on that, so I apologize for that. This video is more of a video about, I guess, like challenges and experience and whatnot, as I would say I didn't really have that much success in terms of the goals that I set out to do on this particular day. At the moment, I'm taking off the skid plate at the bottom of the car so I can get access to a good jacking spot, because my goal here was to actually get started on removing the downpipe from the exhaust, which was damaged from the catalytic converter theft, and then also remove the what's left of the cat pipe that goes through to the back of the car. So this is my first time ever jacking up a car. I've never done it before. I've never had any need to do it or any experience or anything. And all I've seen is just basically a couple of videos on YouTube and whatnot of other people doing it, like working on their car. And I thought I'd sort of have a crack. So during some sort of sale my local car store had, I purchased a jack and some sands. And I thought, I'll give it a shot and we'll see how we go. Must say it was a lot more nerve-wracking trying to attempt this than I thought it would. I thought, we'll pull it up, throw it under, and secure it and we'll be fine. But a couple of the challenges I had, I didn't really know where to put the jacks. And I think my main problem is I was just kind of looking at the sort of jack spots for like when you've got like a flat tire, right? And you use the little hand crank tool that you have in your boot and sort of slide it under there. But my issue is with the jack that I had, I guess the claw at the top just it was too big for that spot, but it was also too small to just grab onto the entire spot. So I sort of put that across to the side for a while and I went off to go focus on something else instead, because I had no one to help me or anything like that, and I didn't really want to, go under this car, which I wasn't confident in what I had even done. So I swapped over to, doing a little bit of a clean on the engine bay and taking out a few parts and really just having some fun with it and playing around. So here I've just taken out the grill and that little, I guess, like mesh seal to prevent anything from flying into the fan. And I was just planning on cleaning up a couple of things in here and making it look a bit nicer and really sort of have a look around and see what else is going on in there. So this little, I guess, like noise dampening cloth, what does it even do? I don't even know. It was looking a bit tattered and average and torn in a bunch of spaces, and honestly I don't think I really need it, and the car looks a lot better without it on. So the underside here is all really dirty, but we get that cleaned up in a bit. So I ended up just prying off all these tabs and getting rid of it, and I think it looks better anyway. And sure, there might be a bit of noise coming from the engine bay, but it's not the end of the world really. Just having a look through everything here, trying to work out what I want to do. One thing I did note, which I don't have any footage of in this video, is I reckon the brake fluid master cylinder is leaking a little bit, because that unit itself is quite rusty on the on it, and underneath it on one of the metal parts of the car, it's all the paint's flaking off there. So I think it's been having some brake fluid over a long period of time leak through, rusted out, and then start to pry off that paint, because I imagine the brake fluid to be probably pretty acidic, so it's sort of chewing through that paint. So one of the parts, I'm ordering a lot of parts at the moment, but one of the parts I want to replace is that, and I'll have to repaint the inside of the car, just sort of fix it up. So they're my my radiator, I guess, like mounts or straps that holds it in. I've seen this been done a lot on a lot of YouTube videos. Peel away all the old paint because it all gets pretty rusty and then repaint it. So I said, hey, you know what, that looks easy, I'll do that. So there we go, all 3 seconds worth of work there. This is that sort of mesh grill that sits in front of the fan. I thought I'd re-spray paint that black because it was looking pretty average and a little bit of spot rust, which away from the screen you didn't see. I did hand brush down. So at this point, I'm really no idea what I'm doing. I watched a couple of videos on it, on cleaning engine bays. So I've actually covered my alternator with a plastic bag to try and keep as much liquid out of that as possible. But I've sprayed the inside of the hood here with some degreaser and just trying to agitate that with my brush. And when I get the high pressure hose onto it in a bit, all this dirt just goes away, and it's kind of satisfying to watch that happen. So I'll just leave this play for a bit. So here I'm just spraying down the whole engine bay with the greaser and agitating it with the brush there, trying to loosen up some of that baked in dirt and grease and all sorts of gunk. It really isn't actually that bad, but it's not that great either. So at this point, I'm just sort of doing it for myself to sort of clean it up and be able to have a look around and understand what's going on there. So the high pressure hose that I have is way too powerful. Not that it bothers me, because I will be repainting the car at some point anyway. But when I was spraying the exterior, I actually chipped off a little bit of paint. That's how aggressive it was. So here I'm sort of being like sort of gentle with the handle, although it's not one of those sort of like modular sort of sprays where the less you grip, the lighter it is. So I'm sort of just like spraying it in short bursts and not directly on anything. But I think here we go. I swap over to the garden hose, just because I thought it was just far too aggressive for this side. I don't want to break or damage anything. So I just use the garden hose, I think, here and there to sort of just rinse off that last bit of degreaser after agitating it and wiping it away. And I was pretty happy with it. It ends up looking a lot cleaner. So that was great. I don't actually know if I had a panning shot of the engine bay after, looking nice and clean, but trust me, it looked a lot better at the end than it did at the start, so I was pretty happy with that. Just about now in the background, I'm playing around with that piece of trim that broke off in one of my earlier videos from around the windscreen area, and I actually worked out that this could actually clip back on again, so it really wasn't as broken as I thought it was. So I was sort of playing around with that, and I got that into place. Will it fall off again? Yeah, probably. It's not going to stay like that, but I was happy to sort of put that back on. At this point, I'm just going over everything with a microfiber towel, just trying to get all that moisture off and keep it dry. And I think that basically sums up our 3-second quick engine bay detail, if you really want to call that. At this point, I'm just throwing that piece of mesh back in there again and tightening that down. One thing I've looked into recently is I really want to get your hands on the egg crate grill. I think those things look amazing. It makes the car look a bit better than this old sort of style chromey grill that I've currently got on the car. But they're actually quite expensive, so given that it's not really a necessity. I'm holding off on buying that at the moment, but it's sort of all these things. The more I look into Volvos and you know, they've been around for a long time, the more little random little parts and bits and bobs that I see, I'm like, I really like that. I want that in my car and whatnot. And so I've been looking into a lot of things recently, although I don't think it's a good idea, because I think once you go down that rabbit hole looking at what you want, the lists and the money sort of racks up really quickly, and I should just be focusing on getting this thing started, which this footage is quite old now. I've run into a couple of hiccups which we'll address in upcoming videos, but I think I've got a pretty good plan on what to do and what I need to replace after just like poking around with everything and doing a lot of research online. So I think at a later point in time I will make a video once I sort of catch up to the footage of where I am at the moment, saying what I'm going to do, what I'm going to buy, and why. And you can all ridicule me or help me out with that, and sort of understand why I'm going for what I'm doing as I come along to that. So that'll be, you know, giving you guys a bit of an idea of what I'm thinking the main faults are of the engine, and then also, you know, it's win-win for me because some of you guys leave some pretty good comments on each video with some really good advice, which you know, either not seen before or not heard of or didn't think of, to be honest. So I appreciate that. Here, I'm going for my second attempt to jack this car up. It's actually a day later, and I was pretty disappointed actually after the first day of just not feeling confident and couldn't get out of the car, and so I sort of felt a bit down and sort of gave up on it for the day and ended up coming back to it a day after. This is my stupid idea that I came up with myself. We cut down a couple of trees around the property recently, and so I've got a bunch of logs lying around, which was just off camera to the right of me. You can see me getting another one there. So I grabbed two of them, and I'm going to go slide them under the car. Now I didn't bend anything, I didn't damage anything or anything like that. It's all good. You don't have to worry about, like, they're actually the side skirts of the car was already bent from, I guess, someone else trying to jack it up incorrectly in the past. But I didn't do any further damage to it. It all sort of sat on the subframe, not on the floor or the car or anything like that. So it was really, really sturdy. I was quite happy with it. But it just looked funny, and I sent a photo to a couple of friends of it, and they told me that was the most Volvo thing they'd ever seen. So there you go. Whether or not that's true, I don't actually know, but it's quite funny. I think I swap over. I think I've got some footage on my phone, or I think I moved the camera around so you can sort of see it from the side. But man, got the car up finally. There we go. And I can actually, you know, go under it. It's not an enormous height up, but it's enough to sort of get underneath it. Although I did realize whilst doing this that, man, it is not comfortable being on some bitumen that's all old and chipped up and pretty rugged on your back, trying to move in and out from that. So I'm going to look for some sort of map link to slide on the car next time to make that a little bit less aggressive. But in this video, this is the first time I lowered the car onto the logs, but I definitely off camera raised it a couple of times, readjusted the logs, and I think I threw a little bit of wood underneath it to sort of make it hold a bit better, because I'm looking at it now and I'm like, oh, it's still not very confident to go underneath it. But I did adjust it and sort of make some changes to make me happy enough to sort of venture underneath the car and sort of see what's going on there. Yeah, this is the some footage. I don't know if I put this on Instagram or not. I know I took a photo and put it on Instagram, and yeah. So this is me trying to take the end of the catalytic converter. I guess just the pipe where these cut it, and man, I was getting really annoyed at this point. I couldn't, not at this point, but throughout the whole project, I couldn't get anything off at all. I couldn't loosen it. I got really annoyed, so I gave up and I went to the front end of the car instead and tried to work with the downpipe instead. And I just don't have the correct tools to do it. I don't have an impact drill or anything like that, so I'm trying to hand crank it without a suitable extension to sort of give me that sort of leverage, and you know, you can enjoy this terrible shot of half my stomach bloody sticking out in the frame, but you know, whatever, it is what it is. I didn't have much footage of the end of the car, so I sort of just threw this one down there. But the downpipe, I couldn't actually get it off. The end of the cat, I think I got the little strap holding it to the tail end of the exhaust, but the pipe itself was actually rust welded into it, and it was not budging. Try to knock it around. I tried to apply a little bit of heat to it. Nothing was making it loose at all. So what I've actually done, and I don't have any footage of it, but I have a mechanic friend that we often use to service some of our cars around the house, and I asked him if he, could do this for me if he had the tools and would be able to give it a shot. So after organising time for him, he came out to my house and actually took out the downpipe and replaced it with one that I bought. I didn't film any of this. I didn't feel comfortable, asking if he wants to be filmed or anything like that. I'm sure he just wants to get on with his job. He doesn't want to do recording and working on, a car that he doesn't do. Volvo is used to Toyota specialists and stuff like that. So he was a bit hesitant, but he said it can't be that hard and whatnot. His concern was more that these things are all going to be rusted and it's going to be a nightmare to take it out. But the downpipe for him actually came out really quick. So that was really good, but it was actually the other end that was rust welded into the exhaust pipe that we could not get that to come out at all. And just looking at the cat that I did buy and the length that we had to play with, the option that we ended up going for was actually just cutting it, which sort of sucks because now the hat doesn't sit that far into the back exhaust. It's not as strong. I mean, it's fine, but I do need to get it welded because now it's sitting in there. It's just not in long enough. Even if you strap it down and tighten it and whatnot, it's still not great. So I need to get that welded. So that's my next sort of thing. But so I have my exhaust in the car properly, and that's all resolved. But unfortunately, I just don't have any of that footage on camera. So here I got the spare tire. The tire was completely shot. I mean, the sidewall, it was just torn. There was a massive hole in it, so couldn't use it all. So I got a new tire for the spare and I threw it on. And here is me. This is how you know I absolutely suck at cars. Because here I'm throwing the wheel back on, and I put the lug nuts in backwards, and I didn't realize until a lot later, and I actually had to come back off camera and take them off and put them on the right way around. So that was pretty embarrassing. In the previous shot, you would have seen I sanded off the tow bar because I thought it looked a bit average, and I didn't really know what to do in my car. I was expecting to have done the exhaust myself for this weekend, so I had extra time and I didn't really know what to do with it. So I sort of played around with that and painted it black. It actually, despite not being that amazing of a job, like I've just done it with a couple of tools, and it wasn't, there's still a little bit of rust on it and this and that, and surface rust, sorry. But the paint has actually, I think it's about 3 weeks later now, maybe 4 weeks, and it stayed on pretty nice. It didn't really flake up or anything like that, so I was pretty happy with that. Not perfect, but it's not the end of the world. This is my tail light. This is the one that doesn't work. The lens is all cracked up, and I suspect water and the elements has really got to the globes and killed them all. But my issue was that one bolt in that tail light there was completely rusted, and it was actually just spinning within the frame of the car. So I ended up just breaking it and sort of pulling the tail light off, was my only option. So I don't think I'll need to actually really repair that moving forward. I think I'll probably just use some washers big enough to grab sort of that surrounding area, and I should be fine. But I got this out because I had placed an order for a spare tail light that was coming from the other side of Australia. So I was sort of preparing the car for that and getting that out while I had sort of extra time. So, I mean, yeah, that's really the whole video here. I was pretty disappointed. I thought I could achieve more with the work that I did on the car for that week. It was a combination, like I said before, of just like inexperience, lack of confidence, and not the correct tools, and really not knowing what I was doing. So it sort of did set me back a bit in terms of my, I guess, like morale, my spirit. I was like, I went to really excited, and then sort of, only a couple of weekends into the project range, something that I can't do this at all. So I did get a hand, I did get some help. I do want to try and do most of it myself, but the good thing that came from all of that was I was able to absolutely talk this guy's ear off the whole time and ask, what do you think about this? What do you think about that? What's your experience with this? And he gave me some really good advice and some really good tips on what to focus on what to work on next, what to not worry about. Because he's done a couple of cars and put it through the registration process and thrown it through the pits and hadn't passed, so he knew what roughly we had to look for and what they don't care about. We did drive around the car a bit. He pointed out a couple of things, like the front and back struts/shocks were absolutely completely shot, and that it probably wouldn't pass on that. So I didn't really think that was going to be an issue in terms of getting the car registered again. So that was a bit of a blow, because they're quite expensive here in Australia. They're not really easy to come by, and so you have to almost either pay an exorbitant price for each individual strut/shock, or get them from overseas and then pay an exorbitant amount in shipping, which is one thing I've learned a lot recently, is shipping is an absolute killer to Australia. It costs a lot of money, and it's probably going to be, if I had to order everything for the car, I would budget 40% of the budget of the car just to shipping, which really sucks, but there's not much you can do about it. I've tried all the junkyards, I've tried all the scrappers and everything like that, and just nobody has these cars. They're actually not that many in my state. I mean, I'm sure there will be a lot, but they're just not that many that are available, which aren't complete bombs or which aren't people's daily drivers. So yeah, so that basically sums up this video, guys. I've got another one coming up of me transforming my gym into a garage, which I did put some photos on Instagram. But otherwise, yeah, I'll see you next time. Cheers, guys.